Kee Thuan Chye is an actor, a writer, and a playwright, and now known as a no bullshit writer, has produced these two very funny books, Unbelievably Stupid and Unbelievably Stupid 2. But it kind of makes you unbelievably sad. What's the story behind these two books?
Well, there's been so much stupidity coming out, especially from Putrajaya these days, that I felt it was quite necessary to document all that stupidity as much as I could. One of the main reasons, of course, is to provide some kind of comic relief because we're living in such troubled times, People are feeling really, really depressed. So, maybe this will help them to, laugh a bit. But more important than that, I believe that a lot of this stupidity is actually calculated stupidity because they are aiming it at a particular audience. Because of that, there's a lot of duplicity behind it. It's very insidious, this kind of so-called stupidity.
So it's a narrative for a particular audience. What kind of audience?
I think it's the kind of audience that is more simple-minded, that doesn't analyze so much what is said.
Can you give us an example? Because I really do not believe that Malaysians are actually simple. I think it's a question of whether or not they've been given all of the information to decide. But if they're only given one narrative, then you have no
That's
choice.
Right. Because it's all coming from one side, and a lot of people are only exposed to that side, so they take what is given to them as the truth.
So give us an example from the book.
Just to give you a very contemporary one, this issue over slapping the Chinese, that Tajuddin, the deputy minister, said. He probably knew that was the kind of thing that he should not have said, but he might have just said it because he thought, okay, it's out there. And that's what he wants. He wants to get it out there. After that, he can, backtrack, he can deny, he can whatever it is. But the point is, the damage is already done. He's already got the message out. And I think that's the usual standard operating procedure.
Thuan Chye, I remember in 1985, we staged a play that you wrote in 84 called Malaysia Here and Now, 1984 Here and Now, based on George Orwell. And I remember one line from that play where a character, says, "And what about that 1.2 million marble arch?" And the audience just started laughing and clapping because people were really actually quite disgusted that we spent 1.2 million on a marble arch. Well, we got at least a marble arch out of that. But what do you make of it? It was kind of like prophetic in a sense,
Yeah, in fact, I wrote the play because I wanted to put out issues in public. Political, social issues that could not be discussed in the media. And let us not forget, in those days there was no alternative media. There was only the mainstream media.
That's right.
So, and you couldn't discuss issues like racial discrimination, institutionalized racial discrimination, big brotherism, the way Mahathir was bulldozing laws through parliament, generating the culture of fear, and so on and so forth. So I felt the way to do it was to just do it in a play.
And there was a huge, big reaction to that. I remember when the play was done, almost immediately after that, Five Arts Centre that produced the play got punished. We were not able to get permits because this play was really, telling it all, was very, very critical, but we were laughing all the way through it too.
Yes, we were quite surprised actually that we got the permit because it was really quite in your face, the issues that were discussed. And the punishment came for the very next production that Five Arts was involved in, and that was The Coffin is Too Big for the Hole, which is actually a Singapore play, which is actually not even politically sensitive.
But do you think that this book now, Unbelievably Stupid, that you're able to produce a book like this, being very critical and highlighting all the ludicrous statements by our leaders, do you think then there's more freedom now in a sense compared to the 80s?
Well, it's all illusory actually. There is more freedom, yes, in a sense, because people want that freedom and you cannot stop them from wanting it. Because now we are living in a globalized world, we are living in the age of the internet.
But I think in the 80s, there were very few of us really who were doing this kind of work. Whereas I get a sense now that there are more of us, there are more people doing different kinds of initiatives, really trying to fight the system and making...
That's true. The culture of fear was very strong in the 80s, and Mahathir saw to that. I mean, he is the one who's made Malaysia what it is today, We are now facing all the effects of what he established during his reign as Prime Minister.
Is Tun Mahathir featured in this book?
Yes, he is. Yeah, he begins the first book, Unbelievably Stupid.
Well, what are your future plans, Thuan Chye? Are you going to come up with Unbelievably Stupid 3 or 4 or 5? Because there seems to be a lot of material out there.
Well, I have a lot of material for a third book, actually. But beyond that, I would also like to be able to do to restage 1984 Here and Now.
Excellent,
if that could be done.
you
Because,
should.
you know, it's a 30-year-old play, but if you were to revisit the play now, you'll find that the issues are still there. The play is still relevant to today. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Thuan Chye. I think it's incredible that, you know, there are different ways of expressing our dissent, different ways of expressing our opinions through very creative ways. And if you want to get this book, please just check out the stores, and you can buy the book. It's really very, very funny, but as I said, deeply disturbing too. But it should be read. Thank you, Thuan Chye.
Thank you, Ivy.